How is everyone doing? I hope you're well. I hope you're growing in God. I pray that every single situation and season that you're in, you're thriving in the joy of the Lord and continually believing and trusting that Christ is in you in this season. And I pray for a lot of grace and strength because it is God's grace and strength that helps us through seasons that are hard. And I also want to thank God with all of you who are thriving in this season, for all of you who are trusting God for jobs, for finances, for spouses, for children, for love in the marriage, for just a renewed relationship with God. I want to thank the Lord with you and trust God to overflow in you so that your overflow will be a blessing to many, many more people. And I want to ask God to encourage you who's there holding the hand of someone else and walking with them and interceding for them, that you will not give up. Instead, that God will give you strength and grace and the resilience to be able to stand in the gap with those that God has put in your heart and in your prayer closet until you see the Lord bring them safely through their season and answering prayers that you have been praying. Because God is not a deaf God. God is a God who hears, and God acts according to His will. And His will for us is good, pleasing, and perfect. I am well. I thank God. I don't take it for granted that I am alive and I can speak, I can move, I can laugh and smile. I thank God for these things that many times we might feel are a default setting in our lives. It is such a blessing and a joy to be able to even have a moment to share scriptures and just see God speaking to me and you and hearing from Him and just seeing Him in a different light. It's my prayer that I will grow and not just grow in terms of head knowledge, but that as I rub my life and as I interact with the Word of God, that these words shall truly bring a change in my life. Many times I quietly sit and think, what would the honest opinion be of the people closest to me, my husband, my child, my children, my nannies, the people who interact closest to me, if they are asked about my faith, what would be their testimony? And I just tell God to help me to be conscious enough to know that it's not just about making sure that people can say good things about me, but that truly my life will be transformed. There are times when I quietly sit and ask God, um, I can't say proudly that I have been, born again for how many years and not have even love in my life. That I pray that God will help me to be able to slowly and gradually see His word bringing fruit in my life, to be conscious when I am deciding on things, when I'm thinking through things, when I am in a conflict or an argument, to be able to hear His word telling me that is not how it should be done, to have His word so real in my life that it influences what I decide to do or not do. That is my desire. I hope that's your prayer too. Uh, Today I want to ask you a very personal question. Do you have someone who has deeply hurt you in the past? And up to today, when you think about what they did to you, it comes with so much pain, and you almost feel like you're going through the same pain over again. And maybe you've many times thought of vengeance, and worse, if you probably even involved the relevant authorities and they took sides with him, making your pain harder. Do you have that in your life, a part of your life that is going through that, a part of your life that has experienced so much pain, a part of your life that you quietly keep within and you manage, but there is a deep pain that someone else has caused you to experience, that is a wound that almost always gets pricked and gushes out with so much emotions and so much pain and so much bitterness and anger. um, there's a story of Esau and Jacob, way back when Jacob and Esau were still in the same household, were still living in the same household because they still belong to the same household. Jacob swindled Esau his blessing, his birthright, and then he actually went and took his blessing and pretended to be Esau. Now, in one of those instances, Esau actually said he's gonna kill this guy. Jacob had hurt Esau in such a deep way, considering that Esau was the firstborn. Jacob had done one of those hurtful, disrespectful things to even pretend to be a firstborn and go in there and take the blessing after swindling him with soup. Now, after the separation and years passed and life moved on. Now, where Jacob was, he had to now run away because he was starting to feel some level of hostility. He was at his uncle's house, and now the cousins were not too happy that he was prospering a lot, and they thought he was doing so out of their wealth. So now, where to go? I left a very hurt brother who actually I ran away from because he wanted to kill me. And I am here in my uncle's house, and it's now hostile in the sense that I'm sensing everyone feels like I'm stealing from them. So Jacob decided to actually go back. And you can imagine, I don't know. So now we put ourselves on the other receiving, on the other end. We know we hurt people. I know I said some things that made the situation awkward. I know I went into a discussion and I threw in words there that were intentional to hurt someone, and I did hurt them. So now I am in this place where I need to coil myself in humility and go back to these same people that I hurt. I never even got a chance to say sorry. I just ran away, disappeared, But now these are the same people that I need to go back to. And that state of where I am, I'm not comfortable. Where I am going, I'm not comfortable, but I need to go. So anyway, Jacob prepped himself. So he decided he's gonna prepare sacrifices and offerings and peace. I think this was Jacob's way of saying I'm sorry. I really did hurt you. And I want us today to learn from Jacob and to learn from Esau how the interaction was by just looking at a few verses in Genesis chapter 33. So Jacob acknowledges that he did wrong. So if I am the one that has offended you and I have hurt you in a way that when you think about it, you just think this one needs to go, my first responsibility is to acknowledge. There are times we do things that honestly hurt other people, but we are ignorant, maybe because of our cultures or because of our backgrounds or because of our orientation. We are ignorant, but there are those that I do, and I know this, I'm out to get you. So we learn from Jacob's point first. I pray that you and I will be humble enough to acknowledge that we've actually done wrong. That in that space, I did wrong. And I'm not just acknowledging to myself, but I am going to acknowledge the person that I actually wronged. Let me tell you, in my high school life, I always think about it, but life, I was so stubborn. Yani, now, there were days after I got saved and life moved on. I used to wonder, should I go back to the principal and tell her, I'm really sorry I disturbed you? What happened? Anyway, life changed and things moved on. And I decided, what, in this case, I'll just forgive myself. Now there is that one. I don't justify mine, but there is that one where now we actually need to go and face people and tell them we are sorry. So that is a very, very bold move that the grace of God is needed for us to be able to be humble enough to say we are sorry. And now, what about me who has been hurt and I'm holding a lot of hurt in my in within me? And there are things we outrightly confess and we say, I will never forgive you for that. I will never. That I will never forgive you. And deep within, in the moment of saying those things, we are terribly hurt and so angry because maybe even the level of justice that we could usher and the vengeance we felt we were still maybe not adequate or it was not possible. So we were not able to revenge. We were hurt. We were not able to get justice, and there is so much within us. We also need to go to God. Honestly, I will not belittle any heart, but every heart needs to be taken to God. First, for our health, for our sanity, for our growth, for our peace, for our freedom. That we go to God and tell Him, what, this person hurt me. And maybe they don't even know, or they will never admit that they hurt me. But I really want to be free. I really want to finally get it over my shoulder. There are some things that have left deep scars that will never maybe go away, but we can experience the freedom and the joy and the peace and this quietness and stillness that just comes from leaving them in the hands of God. And I think this is what happens when you look at chapter 33 of Genesis, verse 8. So this is what I've told you. Jacob sent a lot of flock, like a sin offering, like a peace offering to his brother Esau as he was going back. So verse 8, Esau asked, what's the meaning of all these flocks and herds I met? To find favor in your eyes, my Lord, he said. I like the language, my Lord, he said. But Esau said, I already have plenty, my brother. Keep what you have for yourself. At this point, it's where you'd say, it's okay. No. This, remember, we had already committed in our hearts that this we are giving as a sin. It's like symbolic. It's to show we are really sorry. Don't be quick to take it back and say, no. Verse 10, no, please, said Jacob. If I have found favor in your eyes, accept this gift from me, for to see your face is like seeing the face of God. Now that you have received me favorably, please, verse 11, please accept the present that was brought to you, for God has been gracious to me, and I have all I need. And because Jacob insisted, Esau accepted it. Then I'll just read for you verse 20. Verse 20 says, there he set up an altar and called it El Elohe Israel. Jacob now went and settled somewhere else, and he bought a piece of land and he built an altar of God. And guess what that name that he says of God means? It means, according to my footnotes, El Elohe Israel can mean El is the God of Israel, or mighty is the God of Israel. Talk about forgiveness and even having someone accept your forgiveness. Talk about receiving forgiveness. There are many things in this world we might think are great, but I think being forgiven and being connected back with the people that we hurt or who hurt us and having a restored relationship is very, very big. Jacob's altar is erected and it says, the mighty God of Israel. Mighty, mighty is the God of Israel. Today, I challenge you, as I challenge myself, to address this part in my life, this part of your life that is that has caused a big rift within in our families, in our workplaces, in where else, in the relationships that we had before, and in wisdom, because some relationships you address them maybe not physically because of the level of hurt and maybe even physical abuse was there. Some of those maybe get someone else to help, but just that freedom that comes from being able to call someone my lord, meaning that I am humbling myself and accepting I wronged you, and also being able to tell the other person what is the meaning of all this. Like, it's okay, it's okay. Like, God dealt with me, God gave me, God made me rich. That's Esau's side. I have everything that I need. At the point when you swindled me, I felt like it was my end. But also God has blessed me. You know, I pray that God will help you and help me to bring ourselves to that point where we go to this great and mighty God of Israel and ask Him to help us either forgive or ask for forgiveness so that His love can bring full healing in our hearts and reconciliation that people will see and say, do you mean Jacob the swindler and Esau, the one who wanted to murder him, are now reconciled? That can only be the hand of God. Those are some of the big, 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 big testimonies in our lives that actually drew men to God. That people say, if God can actually reconcile these two people, then there is a God. Then He must be very mighty. Then I will trust Him. I can trust Him with my issues. And that's my prayer for you and I today. And I pray that you may actually experience the power of God in your life. God bless you so, so much and have a beautiful, beautiful day.